And 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. It's John, your Indian Cine-MANIAC, with another 20-ish minute review. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, John, I thought it's 10-ish minute review. Well, normally you would be right, but we are not in normal times in Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother Podcast, Indian Cine-MANIACs. As everyone knows, we're taking a little bit of a break for the month of August. Ralph is taking a break, our showrunner. So I'm going to continue my 10-ish minute reviews, but I asked the rest of the group if they wanted to come on and do this one-on-one with me for the remaining viewer choices that we have, which we didn't spin the wheel on. There's like 6 or 7 other movies. So they all agreed that they would do it. So that's why it's going to be 20-ish minute. I go 20-ish minute anyway, but I thought for this would be more appropriate. So the fact that I am keeping this content coming, we as a group are keeping the content coming for you, the loyal viewers. I think we finally have earned your subscription, and I know you want to know when these videos come out, so you're going to hit the notification button. And the last thing I know, pretty confidently, you like me. You really like me. So why don't you show me by smashing that like button? That would be lovely. Okay, so the film we are reviewing today is Jallikattu, which was made in 2019. This will be Drew will be joining me on this one, on the second half of the review. So I'm going to bring him on about halfway through this. So I'm going to give you my take on it first. It was directed by Lijo Jose Pellissery or Jose. I'm not sure if you pronounce the J. It stars Antony Varghese, Chemban, Vinod, Jose, Jafir Aduki, and Sante Balaknadran. Now, I haven't seen any of these actors in any Indian films that I've seen, or any films. And I'm pretty sure this is a Malayalam film. And this is one that came highly recommended. And basically the premise, it's 2019, so I guess we can give away spoilers. The basic plot of this movie is a village gets meat from buffalo. In fact, the opening was they show them cutting up a buffalo and everyone's getting meat, right? So basically the movie is they bring a buffalo in to slaughter and divide amongst the village. The buffalo escapes and wreaks havoc amongst the village. I think I pretty much summed up the entire plot of this movie. So this movie came highly recommended by, I won't say a lot of people, but a few people. And the reviews on it that I read were praising this film. So, do you ever see the movie Big with Tom Hanks? Great movie, and he is wonderful in it. There's one particular scene where he's now an adult. He's Tom Hanks. And they're at a meeting at the toy place. And they're discussing a new toy. I think it was a building that could turn into a dinosaur. I think that's what it was, if I remember right. And at one point, Tom Hanks, he keeps doing this. And yes. Robert Loggia, who plays the head of the company, Josh, what is it? What is it? He goes,
I don't get it.
I don't get it. You don't get what?
What exactly?
I just don't get it.
Don't you get?
That's pretty much my feeling on this film. I just didn't get it. It just, I guess, I'm not sure how to describe this. So it's not long, thank God. And there were things in it I did like it opens up with this ticking clock. And then there's chanting. And the music, well, there really was no music. It was more percussion, I think. I found that kind of interesting, but it had an interesting opening. And then when the opening credits are rolling, all you hear is jungle noises, nothing else. No music, no ticking clock, right? So then they do the things with it. By the way, this film was submitted for a Best International Film in the 93rd Academy Awards. I don't know what it was up against, but that surprised me a little bit. In fact, so now they go through a little bit of what life is like in the village, everyone getting the meat and all that. Then they get right into the plot about this buffalo escaping, and it escapes in the dark. They're about to slaughter it. And by the way, some of those scenes where they actually did slaughter the buffalo were pretty I don't know what it is about animals. It's like you watch these serial killer movies, you don't bat an eye. You watch them destroying animals and it just hits you. And they made a disclaimer at the beginning, there's no animals killed in this. They were all fake, blah, blah, blah. I get it. It's still very difficult to watch. So anyway, and speaking of animals, there's Fenway in the background barking, probably at a buffalo. Anyway, so it escapes in the dark, and now the rest of the movie is the chase, the whole village comes together, and they're trying to capture the buffalo. And spoilers, at the end of the movie, they capture the buffalo, at least I think so, in a big mud pit. And there's like, I don't know how many villages there are, but they're piled up high. And then at one point you see a buffalo standing there looking at them. And I got a little confused on that. Maybe I missed something. And basically what ends up happening is the villagers, the humans, start fighting with each other over the buffalo. And in a very subtle nod at the end, they show a caveman. So they reverted to cavemen, which, okay, fine. But I don't know. I was just like, what's the deal with this film? I didn't care about anybody. None of the characters, they don't spend a lot of time with any of the characters. The village, I guess, was the character. So that didn't work for me. Now, I will say, I did find the background music, not music, whatever it was, interesting. Tense. The cinematography was gorgeous because a lot of it was shot at night, and it's really done very interestingly. They must have used a steady cam for the majority of the shots because they're always running through the forest. And then there are some scenes where the villagers are holding flashlights or torches, and there's like they're coming from everywhere at night. So visually it was striking. It really was. So those are the things I really liked about it, but this movie did not do it for me. And I know Drew is a little more artsy than me, and he knows all the subtext and more culturally than me. So I am actually dying to hear what he has to say, because I'm sure it's going to be completely different than what I thought. But yeah, this I don't know. Out of all the movies we've seen, I think there's been like 3 that I really haven't liked. And dislike probably isn't the right word. It just didn't do it for me. I was like, that was like visually interesting, but that's my take on it. I'm sorry if you guys really like this movie, because again, the reviews were just praising it. Visually, I get it. But I just thought it was just kind of a, like, why? Anyway, so I'm going to get Drew on. So let's see what Drew has to say. I'm sure he's much smarter than me. So I'm sure he's going to have a take on this that I didn't even think of. So please give a big 20ish-minute review hand to Mr. Drew Gould. Hey, welcome, Drew. Welcome to the 20ish-minute review. 20ish-minute.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. Treat. I'm glad we could keep this going in Ralph's honor, who, by the way, Drew, people have been commenting, I think this is the last we're going to see of them.
I have seen that. It's possible that Ralph won't come back. But
that's right. Ralph wants to assure everybody we're coming back stronger in September. Yeah, that's right. He promises. So you are the first one that I brought on to talk about a movie. And so we'll review the movie, and I already did my portion of it, the first half, and I'll add a little bit more because there's some things I didn't mention that I want to mention with you.
Okay.
And we'll also, as a tribute to Ralph, our showrunner, and the brilliant showrunner he is, we're going to do a What'd You Watch? So you and I can do a little, what is that? Oh, look at that. Look at that tail floating right there.
Thank you, Una.
We're going to do a little What'd You Watch at the end of this, because I'm dying to hear what you're watching, and I've only been watching one thing, other than Indian movies, that is.
I was going to say, if you found time for anything Western, I am very impressed.
I have. I've watched a lot of films the last few nights. But anyway, the film we're doing is Jallikattu 2019. And this is a Malayalam film, right?
Yes, it's a Malayalam film.
Okay. Now, I gave my take on it. So before I tell you anything about what I said, just give me the floor is yours. Tell me what you thought of it.
Okay. Well, first, let me ask you, do you know what Jallikattu is?
I do not.
So Jallikattu is a practice. It's seen as a Tamil tradition. It's got some other names in some other regions, but you know how they have the buffalo races
Yes.
that we saw in the Kantara?
Yep.
So this is another event with buffalo. The nearest analog we could think of is the running of the bulls in Pamplona, except that those end with all the bulls getting driven into arena and killed. This event doesn't end like that. As far as I know, they basically play a game where you have the bulls surrounded by people, and the people have to jump on and grab the hump of the bull because they're all these zebu cattle, and whoever holds on the longest wins a prize. And that could be, I guess, money, a bike. It could be different things. And there's been a lot of controversy about whether that's animal cruelty or not. And I think it was 2017, the Indian Supreme Court ruled it's not animal cruelty. It's a tradition, so it's allowed to continue.
Do they let the buffalo go at the end, or do they?
At the end, it's I believe, and I know we'll be corrected in the comments if I'm wrong. I believe you kind of bring your buffalo, and then you go home with your buffalo.
So it ends up food,
right? Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, it might. It might. I mean, the buffalo in this movie is definitely, was destined for food.
Yeah.
But basically, it's not animal cruelty like bullfighting. I think I find that it's cruel because the animal is, I'm sure, in terror, and confused, which is a lot of what is in this movie, which is the bull being rushed by lots and lots of people. So this movie I thought was fantastic. I'm glad it was only 95 minutes, because if it was the more traditional length of an Indian film, it really might have been too much, because it really, really cranks up the intensity as it goes. And it splits away from what feels like the real world into a nightmare world that's also natural, and a natural extension of the real world. I can't tell you a lot of the characters in it. It really was ultimately swarms of people trying to find this animal and destroying themselves as the animal was destroying themselves. And it was really intense. The filmmaking of it, I thought, was really incredible right out of the gate, with the whole soundtrack and the eyes opening and closing as everybody sort of wakes up into their day.
With the TikTok.
I was like, okay, well, this is different. Yeah. This is definitely different. And I believe this was India's official submission for the Academy Awards in 2019.
It was.
And I don't know for sure, but there can't have been that many Malayalam films that have gotten that honor, because it's one of the smaller industries. But I really thought it was kind of incredible. And it was this really savage commentary on society and how people are, and how far we are or aren't from animals, because it's not about a tiger or an animal that we could say is savage, but it is an animal that's destructive. I mean, the buffalo, when it's running, is killing people, but the people are much more destructive. So I thought it was great. I would imagine you had a different reaction.
It's funny. The analogy I used was, do you remember the movie Big with Tom Hanks? Mm-hmm. When they're developing the toy and he's in the first meeting and he's like this, and he says, I don't get it. That's how I felt about this movie. Now you gave me a little context over what the word means, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just now from a filmmaking standpoint, there were things in it that really stood out. The background, which was not music, it was like percussion, I found really interesting. The cinematography for all the night shooting, because it was. And for me, the most visually striking thing, anytime the large groups had flashlights or torches, those scenes were incredible. But the movie itself, I didn't care about anybody. I didn't learn about anybody really. And I got the thing, obviously they hit you over the head at the end when they show the cavemen in the cave saying
it's
this
not
is
subtle.
What they evolved into that. But I did have one question that I wasn't sure.
Didn't evolve, really.
Didn't evolve. Or devolved. They devolved into cavemen. Yeah. But at the end, when that gigantic pile of people were on the buffalo, then you see a buffalo standing by the side looking. Was that the same buffalo? I got
no. So my understanding of that is, that the before you cut to the cavemen, you cut back to I cannot remember the character's name, but you meet him right at the beginning of the movie. He's taking care of what is evidently his dying father.
Right.
So you see his dying father. You see the hand wrapping around the rope, and he pulls himself up, and he looks out the window, and he sees the buffalo bathed in light behind it. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
That's not looking at the mountain of people with the dead buffalo in it. That's looking at him through the window. And I think that's supposed to represent Yama, which is a god of death. So it is.
Oh, for the father.
Not, yeah, it's not the same bull.
Okay.
It is the
that definitely confused me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had to look that up because I thought that was a beautiful, striking image and was supposed to be something more mythological or supernatural, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. So
well,
this is an interesting world that we live in with these movies.
Well,
We're learning a lot about the faith. So
a world we've never seen either. I mean, but I thought, like in the movies when the action hero gets piled on by 8 guys, he crawls out from the bottom. I thought the buffalo crawled out from the bottom, but then you see the pile. I'm like, wait a minute, there's no way that buffalo could get away from those guys.
Unfortunately, by the time it gets to the point where it's in the pile, you see it's already been pierced with spears. It's already bleeding. It's already dying. So.
Right. And that's the other thing I said. It's interesting. You can watch a serial killer movie and it really doesn't affect you like watching animals. And even though they have the disclaimer at the beginning, these aren't real, blah, blah, blah. It's still, it's always hard to watch. When that guy hit with the hammer. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, it was just awful. Awful.
Yeah, no, it's very realistic. And look, I'm not going to pretend I don't eat beef, and I'm not going to pretend I don't know where beef comes from.
Right.
But the cruelty that the buffalo experienced. Yeah. Now, I will say about that, which I thought was really interesting. We've been watching a lot of these movies, and right from the very first one that we saw, RRR, which is full of animals. Yeah. Is full of digital animals because of and I support them, the anti-cruelty laws. Right. That govern Indian cinema. And basically, if the animal even looks like it's in danger, it has to not be real. Never mind putting an animal in danger on the set. And I thought, man, that bull looks real the whole movie. It's kind of extraordinary because it turns out it's an animatronic. So really? A lot of that is apparently in camera. So when those scenes where it looks like he put a GoPro on the side of the bull and the bull runs into the crowd, that must be he put a camera on the side of an animatronic or a piece of it and ran it through the crowd, because it does not look like we've seen movies with some great animal effects and stuff, but you can still say like that tiger looks amazing, but I mean, I know it's CGI. Right. This thing looked real.
Well, I was going to say
the sounds it made helped.
There were points I thought it was real. Like they used a real buffalo.
I believe that they do for some shots. Yeah,
okay.
I think if
but I would never thought animatronic, because it looked really good if it was animatronic.
Yeah, and it looked amazing. And the director said he took some inspiration from Spielberg, showing parts of the shark in Jaws. Well, and that was an interesting thing because the animal, it's not a threat the same way, but it is very dangerous.
Well, it's funny you bring up Jaws because Kuta John, I thought was Quint.
Oh yeah,
even the introduction scene when he's scraping the thing. I'm going, that's Quint, right? Yep. I'm like, this is Jaws because you barely see that. I mean, even when it escaped in the dark. You didn't see anything.
It escaped in the early morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple other things I found interesting. So all this tension is going on, and then they cut back to the village, and there's literally a 5-minute scene on how you prepare buffalo. Yeah. And they're just having this conversation about how to prepare it, and it went on forever. And I'm like, okay, what's going on with the buffalo? Have they captured this buffalo yet? I thought that was funny. But yeah,
I like that also because I think that the way I read that kind of scene is that the buffalo escapes, and it's not like everyone knows the buffalo is loose. You see in stages. The buffalo has destroyed my crops. The buffalo is this danger before it gets to town and starts destroying things. So you have the normal fabric of this village, which would include things like, I'm having a big feast. Right. How do I want to prepare the food? Right. Before that gets torn apart by, I guess there's one of those, I think that's the scene where all of a sudden there's all these people running by. And they're like, hey, what's going on? Because not everybody knew yet. So it really pulled them out of their lives. I don't think any of them planned or expected to end up where they ended up in the whole Lord of the Flies triangle of sadness kind of insanity.
The mountain of bodies.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Also, one of our perennial appearances in these movies, there's some good slapping.
Yes. Well, that knife scene, man, when he was stabbing the guy, I was like, oh my God, that was brutal.
It's very violent and it feels very real. Yeah. And the slapping I thought was interesting because that's the police trying to reassert order.
Right.
And slapping like that is humiliating. And we've seen police using violence in a number of these movies. Like the first time we meet Taboo in Drishyam, she's just letting someone get tortured.
Right.
Is that's a thing that the police do in these movies. And we've met a lot of police in the Malayalam movies as well. But this was turned around on them. They were like slapping people and trying to break it up. And then the crowd said, no, there's more of us than you. We're going to burn your Jeep. And then they do it. So they pull apart the little bit of order that was maybe left as a group. They stop, for the most part, they stop being individual people, which is why at the end when you see crowds of people running and then you've got a pile and then there's still more crowds and more crowds and more crowds. It just swarms of people.
Well, that was like this because when you see the village, it doesn't look very big,
right?
But because they don't show much of it. But then you see all these people. And especially at the end when they're crowding around the buffalo, I was like, where the hell did all these people come from with all their flashlights or torches? Yep. It was crazy. So the message of the film is this director's against animal cruelty and says that by doing this type of stuff, we are barbarian. I mean, what's his message in this?
I think it's broader than that. I mean, I think that, if you said you don't think cruelty to animals, you think cruelty to animals is bad, I think he'd probably agree with you. But what he's really saying is that part of why things like cruelty to animals are important is that we're not that far from them and that we tell ourselves how far we are from them. But I mean, the buffalo spends the movie trying to get away.
Right. I
mean, I felt for it when it was in that pit.
Yeah.
It's walking around and it's scared.
Yeah.
And you feel that it's scared. And I'm not saying, I'm not going to lie. If you told me I ate a burger and it was a really good burger, and then you told me it was from the bull in the pit, I would feel bad, but I still ate the burger.
Right.
So it's not as simple as there's only one way to do this. There's only one way to not do this. But to me, it's really drawing the line where humans, not only are we still animals, we can actually be the most savage of all the beasts, which is not a new, it's not a new idea.
No,
but the film
different way to tell it.
Yeah. The Fantasia nightmare lunacy of it was really gripping.
Well, I knew you'd have a much different take than me. I did, but I just, for me, it just didn't. I mean, I'm in the doom. You know what I mean? So when I saw this movie, I didn't know what to really expect, and I really found the beginning of it really interesting. I'm going, wow, this is kind of different. But then as it went on, I was just like, whatever. I mean, visually, again, I found it really interesting. But the story itself, it was the first time I really didn't care about anybody because you don't really know anybody. You don't get to know anybody. So there's no, when someone, like even when the guy got stabbed, there's like no weight to it because you don't really know who these people are. It just seems like, you could see what was happening and they were getting frothy about what was happening. It's my bull, it's my buffalo. But I knew you'd have a different take on it. So 1 to 10, you would give it
I'd give it a solid 8. I think it was really well done. It was really great. And I mean, it fits in with other movies that we have of varying quality that we have discussed, even recently. I mean, the whole, I'm just going to say it, Island of Dr. Moreau, Triangle of Sadness, and then Mother, which was done on an earlier episode of Yippee-Ki-Yay. I mean, that movie, the way that it becomes more and more savage and feels unhinged and feels reality.
That's Jennifer Lawrence,
apart.
that one?
Yeah. It feels, I mean, it literally, it's like Uncut Gems. It just keeps cranking the tension, except both that movie and this movie, they're cranking the tension up about who we are as people. The scale of it is, and what it's saying is really, it's kind of crazy. I don't know that I'd watch this movie 10 more times, but I do want to see it again.
It would be tough to watch it again. But I'd give it a 5 only because the visuals, the cinematography was gorgeous. And some of those shots, like there's a shot in E.T. where the light's behind the cops and you see them coming through the forest. That's what it reminded me of. Except with 1,000 people coming down the forest. That was incredible.
And fire.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, good. All right, so that's our review. Let us know what you think in the comment section. And now, as a tribute to our showrunner, I'm going to bring it up again. We're going to do a little "What are you watching?" And because it's a 20-ish minute review, Drew, you want to talk about 8 things? Go for it. What do you watch?
Well, I watched 2 things. I only really want to talk about one of them, but the one that I'll talk about just for a moment is we watched the Beanie Bubble movie.
Oh yeah, with Zach Galifianakis, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's basically about this guy Ty who runs the company Ty that made the Beanie Babies, and it's about his life and how he interacted with three women who he was, let's be really nice, unkind to. And the movie it's pretty good. It's got some great performances. They tell the story in different pieces. So it hops around in time, and sometimes there's graphics on screen and sometimes there aren't. And it's not so much that I couldn't follow what was happening when, okay, this is 89. Okay, this is 93. I just kind of kept thinking, why are you doing that? It didn't make it, didn't ruin it, but it didn't make it better. And Zach Galifianakis is great. And I haven't spent that much time seeing him without a beard.
So, oh yeah. Well, I saw the trailer. He looked, I mean, his performance was so different than anything else I've seen him in. Like, I guess straighter than he usually plays. Yeah. I mean, the guy is definitely kind of nuts, but I have no idea if that's what the real guy is like, but I believed his performance. I believed him as the man and the behavior of the man that he played. And where is it streaming? Is that one on? Is Peacock, it Netflix? I think it's Peacock. Peacock. I have to look. So it's not a mini. Is it a mini series or no? It's just a movie. It's just a regular old movie on streaming. So would you recommend it? Which is good. Who's the girl? Who's the female lead? It's not Elizabeth Banks, is it? Yeah, she's in it. She's the okay. Mm-hmm. Yep, she's in it. And Sarah Snook, who played Shiv in Succession, the redheaded daughter in Succession. She's great as well. But what I ended up really liking a lot, and I really wasn't super interested in it. I've never played the property that it's based on, but I like Will Arnett a lot. There's a show on Peacock based on a video game. It's called Twisted Metal. Oh yeah, Anthony Mackie. That's a PlayStation game. Yeah, that's a PlayStation. Yeah, Anthony Mackie and Stephanie Beatriz, who was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah. And Thomas Hayden Church, and some other familiar faces. It's based on a video game I never played. I never had a PlayStation. I was an Xbox guy. And I don't know that I'm missing anything by not having played the game. As far as I know, the game is basically like a Mad Max type of thing where you're driving around in vehicles with weapons, shooting people and stuff. Yeah. The show is so much fun. It's really violent. This is a series, right? Fun. It's a series on Peacock. It's 10 episodes. They're each about 25, 30-minute episodes, and it's really fun. It's really nasty. It's really fun. Oh, Nev Campbell's in it. It's got interesting casting choices. And Will Arnett, there's a character who's basically I love Will Arnett. Yeah, he's wonderful. The character who's associated with Twisted Metal. Like if you said, do you know that game Twisted Metal? I would picture the clown. Yeah, right. And Will Arnett is the voice of the clown, and the clown is performed by a wrestler. Yeah. And it's great. And it has genuine surprises. Whatever you think the clown's going to be, it's not what you think. It's great. It's scary. It's dark. It's very dark. But as far as end of the world things goes, and there's a lot of them out there, this one is a lot of fun. And it has all the episodes dropped. Yes, I believe all 10 of them are. Have you watched all 10 of them? I have watched the first 5. Okay. And I'm looking forward to watching more. All right. Yeah, I was planning on watching it once I finish the show I'm currently watching. Oh, that's a nice segue. What are you watching, John? Well, okay, so I talked about it last week. So first, I'm watching a couple of Indian films for the month of August, so I can get a lot of content. I just watched Simba, which is in the Singham universe, if you've seen some of those reviews. And I watched a movie called Bang Bang with Hrithik Roshan. That's a remake of Night and Day. And they were both good. I really liked them. But the show that I've started watching, and I've watched 4 episodes out of, I think it's 8, is Justified City Primeval. I'm a big fan of the original show. I love that series. Timothy Olyphant is great in the role, and they had the best bad guys every season. Boyd Crowder was the best, but every one of them, I'm a big Marvel guy, right? Sure. My complaint about Marvel is the bad guys always suck in all the movies. Loki was pretty good and Thanos was good, but can you remember any other villain who was decent? Well, that show had great villains. It's funny you say that, because one of the if anybody says Marvel movies have bad villains and think of a good one, not only do I think of one, I think of the one played by Boyd Holbrook, who was the villain in this Justified series. He's the villain in Logan. He's the leader of the mercenaries. Oh, and he is really pretty scary in that movie. But that's not the Marvel universe. Well, that's true. It's a Marvel film. You're right. I apologize. Yeah. That's James Mangold, isn't it? Yeah, James Mangold directed that one. Yeah. And, I didn't know that.
I've liked Boyd Holbrook. He's been in a bunch of stuff, even when the movies aren't great. I find him entertaining, and so I was pleased to see him get such a plum role. So,
and what I like about the series is he's not a psychopath right out of the gate. They're definitely building up to something, right? And because he every now and then this psychotic comes out a little bit, but they didn't hit you over the head with it, so they're building up to something. And it's just it's funny because in Justified, did you watch it, by the way, the original series?
I saw the first season. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the pilot is he's sitting across from a mob
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
And kills him, right?
Yep.
Not in cold blood because the guy drew on him, but he said, "You don't leave, we're going to throw down." Well, in the age that we live in now, and the way people think of police, that has factored into this new show. He can't just do what he's always done, and he's coming to grips with that. And you know me, I hate woke stuff. I hate message stuff. The way they're doing it is a really good way. They're not hitting over your head with it, but he's got to factor this stuff in, and people are reminding him that he can't do this kind of stuff. So I really like that.
Good.
But it's I've already watched the first 4. It's going really well. I cannot wait to finish watching it, but check it out if you get a chance. And I would also say this, if you've never watched Justified, go back and watch it. It's streaming on I think Peacock or Hulu, one of those, whatever FX shows up on.
I think it's FX on Hulu then.
Yeah, okay, probably. FX on Hulu. Check it out because it is one of the best. It's based on Elmore Leonard, one of the best written shows, and his character is just a cool. No one looks as cool in a cowboy hat than Timothy Olyphant.
He does look very cool. And
very
he looks cool in Boba Fett's helmet. He looks sharp.
One of the best things in that ridiculous, stupid show was Timothy Olyphant, and I want to see him back too.
You mentioned Elmore Leonard. I haven't read these books, but my understanding, and I think this is an interesting thing that they did as an adaptation, that they took the same sources that they got Justified from, and then they took City Primeval, as I would call it, which is a different series about Detroit by Elmore Leonard that doesn't have the character, and then put them together. Yeah. And it works. And I think that's kind of a really...
It really does.
Because apparently people have been trying to make the City Primeval into a show or movie for decades.
Oh, really?
And the way that they have now done it is very clever, is what I've heard. I haven't watched it, but I hear it's very clever.
Yeah, because you're right. The original book didn't have Raylan Givens in it. I'm also hoping that this does well enough that they'll do more of it, because he loves the character, and he's like an executive producer on it. Obviously, they wouldn't make it without him. I hope they make more of him because it's just such a great character. And like I said, if you haven't seen the original series, see it. Not only for him, but the villains are so good. And Boyd Crowder's the best.
Well, I would never say never about seeing more after they're done, because with Timothy Olyphant, they ended Deadwood a season early, and then 15 years later, they made a movie to finish it, and it was excellent. Yeah. So you never know. Yeah.
All right. So listen, by the way, Jallikattu, was that was on our wheel, wasn't it?
Yes, it wasn't on the wheel. It was the 5 boxes of our show picked what we wanted.
Okay, so one of us picked.
Viewers voted on it, so that was my pick.
Oh, okay, that
was my pick,
good.
and it came in last. 16%.
That's right.
So the viewers were like, "Yeah, we want to watch it, but not as much as we want to watch."
So maybe
watch the other 4.
Maybe the rest of them agree with me, not the 16%.
It's possible. It's definitely, listen, it's not for everyone.
No,
and
I get it.
I didn't know what to expect, but what movie is for everyone other than RRR?
No, and no matter that's true. No matter what happens with these films, whether you like them or don't like them, they're always surprising, right? And because you're seeing things you just don't see. Look, I never in a billion years thought that I would be watching so many subtitled films in a week.
I believe it.
I mean, it's crazy. And now it's like you don't even think twice about it. Now I'm watching films from other countries that normally I probably wouldn't have given a second look to. I'm like, what the hell? I can watch all of these. I'm going to give it a shot. Great. So it's been great. So listen,
we'll have to do some episodes on those, because I have a lot of movies I could recommend.
There's one in particular I might talk to you about. It's a time travel movie out of Spain, I think it is.
Time Crimes?
What is it?
Time Crimes?
Time Crimes, yes.
Yeah, excellent.
Have you seen it?
Sure, excellent movie.
Is it great? Yeah, because somebody in the comments recommended it, so I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do that. But I'm going to do, we've got so many left on the viewer wheel, and Sean and Debbie picked their films. I haven't heard from Chris. I think Chris is ghosting me. I've reached out to him, but he's not responding. I think, I'm not going to lie to you, I think part of the deal is if Ralph's not involved, Chris just doesn't want to be involved because they're like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, they could all be moving in together. I'm not judging. I don't know, but he would be busy.
Like a commune kind of thing?
Sure.
Interesting. Yeah. So we'll get you back.
Podcast commune.
I'm going to try to, get a bunch of these done. So we've got them for the whole month. So maybe I'll get you back on a viewer one also. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on and talking. I knew you were going to have a much different take than me, which is good. That's what makes this show fun. Now to the audience out there, again, we're picking up the slack so Ralph can get his stuff done. That alone should earn a subscription. And you want to know when this great content is coming out. So you want to hit the notification button. And because Drew took time out of his busy day to come in and do this 20-ish minute review, do me a favor. Smash that like button. I think he earned it. What do you think?
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
So again, everybody, thanks for watching. I'm not sure what the next film's going to be, but we'll make sure we get plenty out for the month. So thanks again, Drew, and everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too, John. See you, everybody.